She's so fine. Helluva, blows my mind. Helluva, lights my day.
What's good, guys? This video is going to be in regards to the Kenneka Jenkins case. And because there's a lot in the J4K community that would like to see a criminal case prosecuted, and instead there is a civil case going on. So I thought I would just take this opportunity to break down what the two are. And this is sort of out of the norm for me, but this is really right up my alley. So I thought I would go ahead and try it, and depending on how well it's received, I'll continue on with it. If it's well received, we'll just keep going with it. So let's take a look at civil law versus criminal law. You have criminal law violations, which are called crimes, and then you have civil law violations, which are called torts. If you've read any kind of John Grisham book, you will hear a lot of talk about tort law. So criminal law, we'll look at that first. It's different than any other type of law, and specifically different from civil law, because criminal law involves the violation of public rights and duties, which create social harm. Back in the day when you had kings and such, it was a crime to be a violation of the king's peace rather than having harm done to a victim. So if you disturbed the king's peace, you were in violation. But now it's considered a social harm, and it affects the entire community. That being said, that means it's supposed to be punished by the community. So what distinguishes criminal law from all other law is that criminal law actually seeks to regulate these acts that are contrary to what the community interest is of social or government unit, and that would be federal, state, and local. All right. Civil law is law that deals with matters considered to be private concerns between individuals. It deals with personal injury, contracts, and property, as well as administrative law. And like I said, a violation of civil law is called a tort. So when you have a tort that's being committed, sorry guys, I try not to clear my throat on camera. When you have a tort that's committed, civil law tries to provide a remedy of sort in the form of an action for damages. And that's also true for any kind of contract obligation you have. Also, I'm making sure I had the right thing typed up. There can be an overlap in civil and criminal law as well. And a good example is the O.J. Simpson case. So you can have the same act that can be both an offense against the state, which is a crime, and also an offense against an individual, which is a tort. Say, let's see, think of an example. Someone steals another person's property. That person can be punished under criminal law by imprisonment and or a monetary fine, and they may be required to pay restitution to the victim. The victim can sue in civil court for monetary damages, which is what happened in the O.J. Simpson case. So we had, I think it was October of 95, you had Simpson, who was acquitted on the murders of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman. But in February, I want to say 97, and the reason I know this is because I was glued to the TV, as was a lot of people during that time. But the civil trial brought against Simpson by the Goldman family The jury awarded them $8.5 million in damages. So it can overlap. So what is the purpose of criminal law? The purpose of criminal law is to prevent and control crime. That's it. That's all. That's it. And they do that by sanctioning behavior that violates the criminal law. Okay? And generally speaking, criminal law seeks to sanction only those persons who intentionally violates the criminal law under circumstances that they don't have an excuse or a justification for. All right? So let's look at substantive criminal law versus procedural criminal law. All right? So substantive criminal law involves mostly laws that define what constitute criminal conduct, which is subject to prosecution by the state, set forth and punished by criminal acts. Okay? Trying to see what I got typed again, guys. This is all new for me. Substantive criminal law. It identifies the components required for liability, both mental and physical. Procedural criminal law dictates the methods and the means by which the state proceeds, be it through the police, public administrators, courts, to enforce rights and duties of the substantive law. So let's use an example. Let's say a person is charged with robbery, which is actually taking something from another person by force or fear. That's what robbery is. The possible punishment for that robbery is imprisonment. So the accused person goes to court and they get arraigned. The definition of robbery and the punishment that can result are substantive law. And the arraignment is the procedural law. So that's how you distinguish between the two. Now, there are 5 elements to any crime. So a crime has been committed when any of the following elements are present. The first element is a willful, unlawful act, which is the actus reus. All right? You have someone that is committing an unlawful act of their own free will. That is the actus reus. The second is a guilty mind, which is the mens rea. That's a very important word in criminal justice. Mens rea, the guilty mind. The guilty mind element, though, does not require intent to violate the law, but rather the intent to commit the act that the law prohibits. And that's very important. Very important. So it doesn't mean that they actually set out to intend to break the law, but rather that they set out to commit the act to break the law. And that's important. Number 3, a concurrence of act and intent. Number 4, the occurrence of harm to a person, property, or society. And number 5, a causal relationship between the criminal act and the harm. So I'm going to leave it on that. But if these little videos like this help, I will be glad to make more of them. I just thought it was fitting because there's a lot of people that would be happy to see a criminal case in the Kenneka Jenkins situation. But there's a lot of blockers along the way. And I can understand completely why the civil case was pursued. A lot of other people can't understand that, but because that's sort of my area. I get it completely. When you're looking at your evidence and every piece of evidence you have is showing that the hotel is liable for the death of your daughter, and nothing else, that's all the evidence is showing, is that the hotel is liable repeatedly. The only thing to gain at that point would be monetary damages. Now, it is at this point where I become very disgusted, I guess would be a good word, because I would love to see a criminal case pursued, but in order for that to take place, there would have to be a lot of things that would need to take place. And I could go through the gamut on that. But as it stands today, with the evidence that the Village of Rosemont's Public Safety Department has gathered in their piss-poor investigation of the case of Kenneka Jenkins, there is nothing else that could be pursued other than monetary damages. So I'm going to leave that alone because I get frustrated and aggravated when I begin to speak about that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something. And I'll do more if I get a decent response on it. But thanks for your time. I appreciate it.